Chapter 14. I have a friend. Knock, knock, knock. Come in. Lin Xie pushed open the door and walked into the consultation room. Sitting on the other side of the desk was a middle-aged male doctor clad in a white coat, sporting a sparse Mediterranean hairstyle that clearly symbolized wisdom. Lin Xie took a seat in the chair. The doctor spoke calmly. So, what seems to be the problem? I don't have any problems. If you don't have a problem, why are you here? I don't have a problem, but I have a friend who has a serious mental illness. The doctor looked at Lin Xie with a strange expression, smiling as he adjusted the few remaining strands of hair on his balding head. Is that friend of yours actually you? Lin Xie answered seriously, No, it's really a friend. All right, then tell me about. Not you, but your friend's illness. What are the specific symptoms? Lin Xie pondered for a moment. It might be a bit hard to describe. The doctor smiled. Then just pretend you're that friend and demonstrate what's happening. Lin Xie gave the doctor a peculiar look. After some hesitation, he reluctantly nodded. So, Lin Xie slowly stood up from his seat. Under the doctor's watchful eyes, he walked directly in front of him. He extended his hand and buried the middle-aged doctor's head into his own embrace, with the other hand gently patting the few remaining strands of hair on the doctor's head. His eyes filled with affection, and softly said, My dear son, Daddy has finally found you. The doctor. In the next 10 minutes, Lin Xie used every rhetorical technique he knew, passionately explaining that he was not the one with the problem, avoiding immediate commitment to a psychiatric ward. So, your friend sees everything as if it were their own child? Yes. And cries a lot? Always crying. Likes to sit in the garden and tell stories to vases and chairs? Yes. Sleep pattern? She doesn't sleep. The doctor frowned. Your friend is seriously ill. I strongly recommend that you bring her to our hospital for inpatient treatment. Her situation is quite special. She can't be treated inpatient, Lin Xie said helplessly. He certainly couldn't tell the doctor that Nyx, the goddess of night, was the patient and that she lived in his mind's psychiatric hospital. If he did, he'd receive a notice for hospitalization himself. The doctor, troubled, thought for a moment and began typing on the keyboard. If inpatient treatment isn't possible, we'll have to rely on medication. I'll prescribe some medication for you to take back for her. If her condition doesn't improve, you must bring her to the hospital. Lin Xie's expression showed some hesitation. Can medication in the real world be brought into the mind? Lin Xie wasn't sure, but he thought that even if it could be brought in, mortal medicine might not be effective for a goddess. Doctor, is there any other way to treat this besides medication? The doctor thought for a moment and then spoke slowly. The symptoms you describe are consistent with severe delusional disorder. I've seen quite a few patients with this condition. There was a man who deeply loved his wife. After she died in a car accident, he would often talk to the air, imagining that she was still with him. This kind of illness is often due to a significant psychological trauma, where the subconscious rejects reality, creating a false sense of she is still here. If we can address the cause of the illness and provide psychological treatment, there is a chance of improvement, but without medication, it's very difficult. Medication and psychological therapy complement each other. Do you understand what I mean? Lin Xie nodded thoughtfully, addressing the cause of the illness. But he knows nothing about Nyx's past and doesn't know where to start. It seems he needs to do more preparation. Lin Xie took the prescription from the doctor but didn't choose to pay for or collect the medication. Since real-world medicine likely wouldn't affect a goddess in his mind, he saw no need to spend the money. Moreover, the medication was very expensive. Leaving the mental hospital, Lin Xie boarded the bus back. The trip to the mental hospital was worthwhile after all, as it gave Lin Xie a breakthrough. He needed to approach Nyx from a psychological perspective, which required a thorough understanding of her. So, Lin Xie got off the bus at a certain stop and walked into the Cangnan City Library. Number 2 Middle School, School Gate. Hey, look, who's that old man? Don't know, probably a parent. I saw him when I entered the school around 7 this morning. I saw him too. He was wearing sunglasses, a shirt, and holding a cup of coffee, leaning against the wall. I thought he looked pretty cool. Why does he look like a beggar now? His eyes are all red. Do you think he's been here since this morning? Probably not, it's almost 10 now. Who knows? Oh, by the way, have you heard? 2 students were attacked on their way home last night. Seriously? Of course. I heard. At the curb opposite the school gate, a forlorn man sat alone, surrounded by cigarette butts, his shadow under the streetlight conveying an unspeakable sorrow. Zhao Kongqing flicked his cigarette butt. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't figure out where things went wrong. He had been waiting from 6 in the morning until 10 at night, baked by the sun, and still hadn't seen the kid. He clearly saw the school uniform yesterday. Had the kid guessed that he was coming to ambush him and decided not to show up? Damn it. His butt was sore from sitting. Zhao Kongqing pushed himself up from the curb, pretended to dust off his pants, and began to stretch his limbs. At that moment, out of the corner of his eye, he suddenly spotted a teenager in casual clothes walking slowly across the street, carrying a few books. That guy does resemble the kid a bit. A bit. Zhao Kongqing blinked rapidly. Damn. Whoosh dash. Without a second thought, Zhao Kongqing charged like a gust of wind toward the teenager, his eyes bloodshot and looking fierce. However, when he was about 20 meters away from the teenager, the boy seemed to sense something, shuddered, and immediately started running. The two of them began to sprint down the street, one chasing the other. Lin Xie wanted to slap himself. Why did he choose this particular route of all the possible ones? Now, he had stood someone up yesterday, and now he was being chased. Although Lin Xie was fast, he was no match for Zhao Kongqing and was quickly overtaken. Zhao Kongqing grabbed Lin Xie's shoulder with a menacing look and sneered. Kid, we meet again. Lin Xie stiffly turned his head and tilted it, saying, Who are you? Chapter 15, 003. Zhao Kongqing felt like he was about to explode with anger. Me? You're asking who I am? I'm the innocent victim who was deceived by you and left out in the cold all night long. Zhao Kongqing gripped Lin Xie's arm tightly, like a possessive and jealous lover. I'm telling you, stop pretending here. You're not escaping today. Lin Xie looked at his pinned arm and gave up on futile struggles, adopting a resigned demeanor. Fine. Where do you want to talk? Come with me. Zhao Kongqing dragged Lin Xie, striding purposefully towards an undisclosed location. When Lin Xie saw they were approaching a couple's hotel, his expression suddenly changed. He turned to flee. However, Zhao Kongqing didn't give him the chance. He yanked Lin Xie's arm back and pulled him into the hotel. You? What do you want to do? I have hemorrhoids. Don't try anything weird. What's with the teenage boys these days? We're just finding a place to talk. A couple's hotel for chatting? Did you not see the looks we got on the way? I was so embarrassed I could die. Do you even know what this place is? It's a safe house. I brought you here with no other intentions. Besides, do I look like that kind of person? Zhao Kongqing rolled his eyes and dragged the struggling Lin Xie to the front desk, casting an exaggeratedly oily flirtatious glance at the stunned female receptionist. One dynamic passion-themed suite, please. Lin Xie. The receptionist stood there, momentarily stunned, before her face suddenly lit up with excitement. All right, sir, we need your ID, and this young gentleman's ID too, please. Reluctantly handing over his ID, Lin Xie observed the overly enthusiastic receptionist, wondering what kind of dramatic scenarios she was imagining. But it wasn't entirely her fault. At this time of night, a middle-aged man dragging a teenager to a couple's hotel for a dynamic passion suite, claiming they were just going to chat. Who would believe that? Here's your room card. Your room is 3966. Enjoy your stay. The receptionist's eyes practically turned into slits as she smiled at Lin Xie, who looked like he was about to be sacrificed. Lin Xie's fist clenched. Stop standing there. Come up with me. Zhao Kongqing dragged Lin Xie towards the elevator. Once inside the room and seeing the array of bizarre and extravagant facilities, Lin Xie, who was rather pure-hearted, realized just how indulgent the wealthy could be. Indeed, quite passionate. Zhao Kongqing locked the door and finally released Lin Xie, sitting down on the electric bed and relaxing his stiff body. Don't be so tense. We're really just here to talk. Zhao Kongqing, noticing Lin Xie's wary expression, said with a laugh. Lin Xie sighed and took a seat on the sofa by the door. What do you want to talk about? Of course, I want to talk about you. Lin Xie, male, 17 years old, single, height 175 centimeters. Wait, you know that's not what I meant. Zhao Kongqing rubbed his forehead and pointed at Lin Xie's eyes. I meant your eyes. Lin Xie fell silent. Have you seen Michael? At the mention of this name, Lin Xie's body trembled slightly. After a long hesitation, he nodded. Indeed, this man in front of him knew a lot, and the forces behind him were certainly not simple. And this sentence revealed an important piece of information to Lin Chia. The seraph he saw 10 years ago was actually the famous Archangel Michael. Seeing Lin Chia nod, Zhao Kongqing finally relaxed, his gaze towards Lin Chia growing increasingly intense. Why did he come to you? What did he say to you? How extensively can you use the Forbidden Ruins now? Zhao Kongqing's questions came like a barrage of gunfire. Lin Chia frowned slightly and shook his head. You're asking too many questions. Realizing he was being too forward, Zhao Kongqing gave a dry laugh. Right? You must have a lot of questions. Let me help you out. Ask whatever you want to know. Lin Chia pondered for a moment, then looked into Zhao Kongqing's eyes and asked his first question. Do gods from mythology really exist in this world? They do. Zhao Kongqing didn't hesitate, nodding directly. But not all gods exist. What do you mean? Zhao Kongqing thought for a moment, as if considering where to begin. What do you think mythology is? Lin Chia thought for a moment. It's the ancient people's spiritual solace? Their fear and imagination of unknown forces in nature? You're right. Zhao Kongqing nodded. Until 100 years ago, everyone thought that way. 100 years ago? That's right. Before the mist appeared, there were no traces of gods in this world. Zhao Kongqing's eyes narrowed slightly. But since the mist covered the earth, everything seemed to have changed. In September 1922, a year after the mist appeared, a reconnaissance team from the Great Xia observed a colossal dragon flying slowly in the sky over the Maria Trench. It was the first time humanity had observed a mythical creature. Upon research, this dragon was identified as Leviathan, the chaos dragon from the Bible, said to be created by God. The discovery of this dragon completely overturned the high-level understanding of the Great Xia authorities, who realized that the world had become entirely different since the mist began. At that time, the mist had just appeared, and the Great Xia was engulfed in panic. To stabilize the country, the high authorities concealed the results of this observation. Leviathan, as the first observed mythical creature, was coded as 001 by the Great Xia high authorities. Subsequent discoveries of mythical creatures were numbered accordingly. The seraph you saw, Michael, was the third mythical creature observed by humanity in 1928, coded as 003. 1928? Lin Chia was taken aback. At that time, we hadn't even mastered moon landing technology. How did they find Michael on the moon? It wasn't us who found him. Zhao Kongqing shook his head. In March 1928, a beam of golden sword light shot from the moon, flattening a volcano in North America. Only then did we realize that a god existed on the moon. North America? What's there? Later, our reconnaissance team spent a year reaching that volcano. Amid the ruins, they discovered the god sealed within the Forbidden Ruins, number 004. Zhao Kongqing paused and continued. Fallen angel Lucifer,